Okay, let's jump in. I'm late. I apologize, but here we are. Let's start a little bit. Um, it is an interesting big question, which I think is worth wondering about. First of all, we're learning about Klipas Noga, and the Shalosh Klipas of Timaeus. That's what we're learning about. And these kind of topics can sometimes lead us into exactly what you guys were just talking about, which is what is what? How do you know? How do you know if it's klipa? How do you know if Rabbi Daniel Katz is kedusha? Right? Maybe it's kedusha. Maybe it's the holiest thing possible. Could be. I'm not saying yes or no. It could be that he's klipat noga. That what he's saying is stuff that could be good if you elevate it, and it could be shalosh klipas satamios. I don't know the answer because I don't know anything about him, but I'm just saying these are good questions. These are not simple questions to answer. But I told you before, and I can tell you again, that what we're learning about here now, don't make any assumptions about real life. In other words, it does ultimately all connect to real life, and it's only about real life. But we need to get more information before we can start to feel guilty about the lives that we live. Only then can you feel guilty. I still maintain that the whole purpose of the Tanya, well, that's not true. One of the main purposes of the Tanya is to remove guilt from our life. In other words, guilt should not be our primary motivator. Huh?
I need to hear.
Yeah. No, well, we're experts.
Yes,
Jewish people in general experts. Jewish mother are double experts. Experts both in giving and taking guilt. But it's not appropriate.
See, yesterday they shared a map of consciousness with all the feelings. You're gonna like this. It's like all the feelings that you have like on an energetic level and how they are measured like with numbers and how they make you feel, how they make you
So I'm
feel.
already starting to my skeptic brain is starting to fire big time. I'm just as I'm listening.
No, this was not Daniel Katz.
Oh, not
This
Daniel
was
Katz.
another
Oh,
person
okay,
that
okay,
was speaking
okay,
before him.
okay. I'm still if they're
But
speaking in the
but
same.
I was surprised that guilt was the second to last bottom feeling.
In
Like,
terms of the amount or in terms of
in
the
terms of the
positivity of it?
no,
The
no,
lowest,
the lowest.
In terms of it, lowest in
In
which?
energy,
Ah.
in energy
Come
love.
on,
I
the
know what that
opposed
means.
of
I know what
consciousness.
this means.
Huh?
Lowest.
The
Anger.
lowest is shame,
Shame.
and the
Oh,
toppest is peace, enlightenment,
Okay,
enlightenment.
now I'm definitely my radar is flashing.
But I'll tell
I'm
you,
not disagreeing with what she's saying. I agree with all that, but this
No,
is
this is the
definitely does not.
scientific love. This is
no, I'll
I
tell
don't know
you
what the
what.
science is. I mean, it's just flashing.
No,
It's
I
flashing.
don't.
It's okay. You don't have to. You don't have to stand up for Daniel Katz for me. I don't know anything about it. Okay.
Might be connecting
through science.
No, it's not through science. He's just recognizes, and science today is recognizing Torah.
Right.
You know, he believed that Torah is the truth. Not everybody understands it, and now and people connect more with science, which now recognize. You know, through
My skepticism comes on two levels, but I don't want to make this a class about Daniel Katz. I want to get back to our topic. No, I got it. But as soon as I hear this, my
It's such a
negative feeling for sure. There's no question. I agree. I agree. Right. Right. I know. I got it. I got that. But that's part of my problem. There was another rabbi who also was very orthodox himself, who created the Kabbalah Center. And he was very much an Orthodox Jew, at least for many of his years. Towards the end, I don't know. I don't want to say because I don't know, but people say things. I know it's true or it's not true. And it was definitely not a positive in the Jewish world, even though he was able to reach many, many people through many, many positive things, etc. So I'm not saying anything about him because I know nothing. No, it's not only dangerous. And people could say things that are that sound good to the people, but are not necessarily not necessarily staying true to the sources. And I don't know anything about him. So I'm just telling you that my radar is saying it's something to look at. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not the expert to know. I can tell you what I think, but I don't hold myself out as the as the knower of all Kabbalah or all Judaism to be able to tell you who's good and who's not and what's right and what's wrong. I know what I know. That's all I know. Yeah, our topic.
What were you were saying? That it's a not a bad feeling, but it's a
It,
feeling that
it's for the most part, it does not. It has, okay, let me back up. It has the advantage of being able to give us motivation, immediate motivation to do something right or do something wrong. In other words, it helps you in the second, hopefully make a good decision because you want to avoid feeling guilty, for example, or you've already felt guilty and you want to somehow remove this guilt. So it will help you. I don't know. Let's just say you became Shomer Shabbat and you've been Shomer Shabbat for 10 years, and now suddenly you have this opportunity, blah, 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 blah. And the guilt can tell you, "Nah, don't do it." You know what I'm saying? And it works. You know what I'm saying? The problem is that when it becomes the primary motivator, you're missing the point, completely missing the point. The whole point is to develop a love and fear of Hashem, is a relationship with Hashem, to serve Hashem. It's not to serve yourself. Guilt at the most, you're serving yourself. Now, can it affect your behavior in a positive way? Yes, it absolutely can. Okay, but when it becomes the overriding motivator, I'm not saying that it's necessarily wrong, but you're missing the whole point.
right. I have a question, but because maybe it's not related, but we as a Jews, every time that we are celebrating something nice, kind of like a wedding or whatever, we always remember the tragedies.
Right, the destruction of the temple.
Oh, okay, that's different. Yeah, yeah. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so.
Bad without no good without bad.
Also, but then no, I think it's a different point, which is that we're trying to create a world the way that Hashem wants it created, and we have to know that it's not created yet. So you could be in your highest moment of joy and excitement, and you have to know that the world is not good yet. It's not the way it's supposed to be. It's true. This moment is amazing, but Imloi, it the pasuk says, "Let if I don't bring the memory of Jerusalem on top of my joy." That doesn't mean you diminish the joy. The joy is the highest level. But you have to remember that just because you're joyous at this moment, there's more to be done. The game is not over. This is an important game that we're playing, and we can't be satisfied because I married off 7 of my 9 kids or whatever the number is. You know what I'm saying? And that's amazing. It's a great accomplishment. It is, but there's much more to be done.
Feeling, that's more of like remembering.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mostly in the past. But it's not only, it's also you can create the feeling for the future as it, yeah. That's right. I don't think it's a good thing. Yeah, I don't think it's a guilt is going to be treated very profoundly in chapters 27 and 28, if I remember correctly. But let's get back to our topic, which is Klipas Noga. Klipas Noga is the most complicated of them all. Because it really points to almost all of our life. It points to most of the energy that we expend. It points to most of the things that we own, most of the things that we crave. Most of that is in the world of Klipas Noga. And again, we're using very negative terms for it, and that itself is complicated. And again, for the immediate supposition that people have when they study this is that this is meant to make us feel guilty because it's all klipa and it's klipas noga and I'm loving steak. Yesterday, thank God, we had a beautiful barbecue and the barbecue had the most delicious meat and I enjoyed the meat. So I must be a terrible person because I'm doing things for all the wrong reasons. We can imagine that that's what the Alter Rebbe is trying to say. And I'm not going to say he's not saying that at all. There's a little truth to that. But don't jump to conclusions of what he's trying to say. He's just laying out the playing field so you understand what is going on here. And the truth is, the majority of this world that we live in is klipas noga. And klipas noga, for the most part, is negative. Negative. It is. It is. But that doesn't mean that our relationship to it should be guilt-ridden or all these different things. It doesn't mean not either. We have to find out what it means. That's all I want to say. Don't jump to conclusions. Learn the idea, learn the way Kabbalah, he was not only a Kabbalist. One of the great things about both him and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who we celebrated yesterday, is they were both Kabbalists and they were experts in the revealed part of the Torah. They're experts in both. That's one of the things that make both of them so unique and special. Anyhow, let's jump into the text a little bit, and then we'll discuss. I think we got up to, anybody remember? I think I know. Yeah, we got up to here, page 118. We mentioned the positive side, for example, of klipas noga. We gave 3 examples of a positive side. One example is somebody who drinks wine and eats meat in order to fulfill the mitzvah of the pleasure of Shabbat and Yom Tov. Okay, that's why he does it. Now, let's be honest. I'm going to go to the other side of what I just said. Are we eating wine and drinking meat for the pleasure of Shabbat? Or can we not wait for Shabbat in order to eat wine and drink meat? I mean, the other way, eat meat and drink wine. Meaning, it's not easy to analyze our motivations. You understand what I'm saying? In other words, we could be very much. There's a story, they say, of the Baal Shem Tov, where and there were a number of times that he did this magic trick. He took his students and he asked them all to hold their hands to each other and to close their eyes. And there must have been some preparations as well. And suddenly they all saw the way a cow was sitting in a kapata, that's the black clothing that Hasidim wear, with a shtreimel, eating his Shabbos meal. A cow. And what he had shown them was that it's possible to eat your Shabbos meal like an animal too. In other words, both are true. You're celebrating Shabbat, and I'm not. Again, we can look at ourselves and say, okay, so he's talking about another kind of person. Of course, I'm going to eat the meat and enjoy the meat. Who's he trying to talk to? No, they could both be true. It's complicated. Leave it alone for now. Don't come to conclusions of what's right and wrong and how to do this. I'm sorry.
What's the bare minimum? Why do you need the wine and the meat to enjoy Shabbat? You could enjoy Shabbat, which is the actual mitzvah, without these pleasures.
No, because it's specific. It says you have to have wine and you have to have meat. Yeah.
You have to wait, let's say, like, if you eat it another day, like, you will feel guilt. That's what you're saying.
No, I think that I'm saying.
What I'm saying is don't jump to any conclusions. All I'm saying is that the bottom line is that eating meat, enjoying meat, not just eating it, enjoying meat, enjoying wine on Shabbat is a mitzvah. And you can therefore do something which is involved in pleasure and involved in very physical pleasures. And it can be for the service of Hashem. That's all I'm saying. That was one example.
You wait for Shabbat only for the meat and wine?
Oh, so that could be where the question is. All I'm saying is this is a complicated. He's looking at the positive. We're about to look at the negative. Okay, but he's so far looking at the positive. He has 3 positives. What's that?
Que estas medicinas como Ozempic, que te quitan el ruido
See,
de comida,
it's not so simple if it's allowed according to halacha for these reasons.
pero
It's not so simple.
ayudan a todo esto, porque
Ayudan a qué?
que te puedas conectar espiritualmente porque la
No,
comida
pero no, este no es, tampoco es.
Claro, pero imagínate la gente que
No, solo eso, ¿quién dijo that you're not supposed to have pleasure while you eat? We didn't say that. That's what I'm telling you. This is complicated.
saying today we are used to getting so distracted with food and with other pleasures that we forget about the real essence of connecting to Hashem.
Do you think
We have
because
so many.
The flip side is, but let me be clear, this is a very complicated topic.
Conto,
Bueno, pero te queda. Sí, ¿no?
No, the bigger problem, honestly, of course there is. It's not so simple. Of course there is. It's not so simple. They basically say it's allowed, but it's not so simple. These are not, you have both sides of this topic. And right now we've learned one side a little bit last week. We're going to learn the negative in a moment. But what about when, okay, why not? Rab Moshe Feinstein, the great halachic decider of the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. It sounds like a music radio station of the 60s, 70s, and 80s in America. He wrote a explanation of 3 things that are wrong with marijuana. Okay, and one of the 3 is you're supposed to take pleasure in the things that you need to take pleasure in, but you don't have to add new experiences to this picture. That doesn't mean no new experiences at all, but you don't have to suddenly create new cravings. And he maintained that marijuana, together with many other drugs, create new cravings that are not natural cravings. They're not part of the way you were born. But the flip side to the exact same thing is the natural cravings that you are built with, you're supposed to have. Now, to what degree? That's what the conversation is that we're having here. But you're not necessarily supposed to I'm sorry? Suppress those cravings either. Hashem gave them to us for a reason.
Right, but
He wants us to.
Think of the people living in the cavemen. They didn't have supermarkets and so much.
You're right.
to
You're
do
right.
to them.
It's a
Like,
complicated
just-
question. Okay, so let's jump. I don't debate you. Let's jump back into the text only because we haven't even seen what the text says about this. So far, all we've said is that there are positive sides to this, and we mentioned 3 positive sides. We mentioned Shabbat. We mentioned the rabbi who used to eat meat and drink wine in order to open his mind so that he's able to think about Torah on a higher level. And we mentioned another rabbi, actually could be the same rabbi, but we mentioned the rabbi who used to make jokes to begin his class in order to open the mind of the students so that they should be able to concentrate better on what he's teaching. So all we're showing you is that there is the potential to take things that are that may have a negative side. We haven't learned the negative side. Now we're about to learn the negative side, but they may have a negative side and use them for positive. And that is the definition of klipat noga. Klipat noga are things that have a negative basis, but can be used for positive purpose. Let's go into page 118. However, there are people who are gluttons for meat. You know what glutton is? I think in Spanish, glotones. See, I imagined it would be in Spanish. It has to be. This is like such a good word. V'soive yayin, and people who drink wine like there's no tomorrow, like a Chabadnik. Now it's not a joke. You can ask the question. It's a very fair question. Okay, but they drink wine and they eat meat. Lemales tavis gufay, and the purpose is to fulfill the desires of their body. Vinafsha bahamis, and these would be motivated by the animal soul. We're human animals. We're not cows. So we're not interested in grass, we're interested in smoking grass. We're not eating grass. But we're interested in eating grass-fed meat. And we are interested in the fruits of the vine, right? So we do that interest as animals, not as godly creatures, going to your point. This would be, if you remember, we learned about the 4 elements. This would be the element of water. From the 4 negative elements, because from water came desire. If you remember in the very first chapter, we mentioned that the animal soul derives its essence from the 4 negative elements. And we spoke about each of the elements. There's the element of fire that leads the animal soul to anger. There's the element of air that makes the animal soul airy What's airy? Somebody who's all about hispirus, which is vanity. You have the element of earth, which is laziness and depression. And you have the element of water, which is desire. All of the things that have to do with desire.
¿Cuál era fire, perdón?
Fire is anger, as well as boastfulness, thinking that you're better than everybody.
Water
Okay.
is what?
Water is desire, is pleasures, desire, pleasure specifically, pleasure. Through following your desire for food or wine, and you're doing it purely to fulfill your animalistic, human animal, but animalistic desires for these things, what you did is you've taken the wine and the meat and you've denigrated it. You've drawn it down. So it's in this limbo. You can use it to elevate, or if you do it for the wrong reason, which we just mentioned, we're going to go in more detail, but right now let's get the big picture. Then you denigrate it, you bring it down. And at that moment, and we use the word moment because it's an important thing to realize, this is transitory. It can change, even post facto, even after it's done, it can change. But at that moment, it's now in the world of complete negativity. Okay, you did it because you're an animal and you ate it like an animal. You've taken something which had the potential for holiness and put it into the world of negativity.
How can you change it post facto?
Let's find out. We're just literally 3 sentences in. Yeah. No, not so simple.
Con guilt.
Not so simple. Not so simple. And now, not only that, not only did you take the meat and the wine and put it into the world of negativity, but your body becomes the chariot for these negative factors. So now you've taken your body and you make it the truck that's carrying all the negativity. The fisha'a, momentarily. So it's transitory. It's not, you're not stuck there. Until you turn your direction back towards the service of Hashem. Okay? Key, why? Lefisha, we're on page 119. Lefisha haya basar heter v'yayin kasher, lekach yicholim lachshav el azim b'shuvei l'avodas Hashem. Since they were originally permissible, that means that they have the ability to return. Food which is prohibited has no ability to return. Food which is permissible has the ability to return even post facto. Shezehu lashon heter. This is the meaning, he says, of the word permissible. In English, we use the word permissible. In Hebrew, the word is heter. Heter means untied. We say in our morning blessings, matir asurim. You untie those who are tied. Asur, which means prohibited, means tied up, and heter means untied. If it's untied, that means it's able to be transformed. If it's tied down and cannot be moved. Immutable, perhaps, is another word. Kilaymar, kasher va'asur b'derech chitzainim. She'ena kasher va'asur b'derech chitzainim. It is not tied down to the external forces. There's nothing external to Hashem. When we use the word external forces, going back to what we've said many times, we're talking about the way Hashem created the world in such a way that one could become so full of themselves that they don't even recognize Hashem. That's what we mean by external forces. So those things in the universe that can never be used to serve Hashem are part of the external forces. Something which is mutar, which is untied, can be used to serve Hashem. Period. Going back to the bottom of 119, those things which are tied down can never be returned to ascend to Hashem. Now here he's going to throw a little bit of, this is not usual Hasidic talk, but we're going to find a number of negative things that we're going to
But
throw
in,
out
in
here.
terms of actual life,
See, she wants to go back to actual life. It's not a problem. Ask the question. I'm just telling you, we don't have enough information yet to know the answer. But go ahead, ask your question.
I wanted an example. If you're eating because you are
Like
you
all of
want to
us.
show the desire without any.
Okay, there's three reasons a
meaning.
person eats. Because it tastes good, because you're hungry, and because otherwise you're going to die. Those are the obvious reasons a person's going to eat. All three of those reasons are not for the service of Hashem. All three of those reasons does not mean that the food that you ate cannot be used to serve Hashem. See what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It can be, but
Intention, let's say Shabbat, you're fulfilling the mitzvah of drinking wine and
eating meat.
but not for the pleasure. But because that's what it said and it's a mitzvah. But what if in Shabbat you do that without the intention of serving Hashem?
That's exactly where the problem is.
Thinking about I'm serving Hashem.
My wife and I debate this question. So you'll watch the debate. Let's just watch. Go ahead. Go ahead, Mrs. Rosenberg.
I just think you're doing a mitzvah. You don't have to do it's the right thing is to do a mitzvah with kavanah,
What's kavana?
but intention. But on Shabbos it is a mitzvah to eat delicious food and to like we're supposed to have meat, fish, wine. So that's the way you do the mitzvah. So if you have intention to serve Hashem, like it's even better. But you're doing the mitzvah. That's it. On Shabbos, on Shabbos and Yom Tov.
Like you're doing the mitzvah just
Exactly.
by
During the
doing it,
week,
like,
during the week,
without the intention.
Maybe
That's-
during the week, it's another thing. You know what I'm saying? During the
Yeah,
week, maybe.
there's level for sure. There's
Okay,
levels.
and now let's debate.
Mr.
She's wrong.
Rosenberg.
It doesn't matter what she says. She has to be wrong. Otherwise, how would we have fun? No, this one is a little more complicated, and I'll tell you why. Because she is correct. Mrs. Rosenberg is correct that when you do a mitzvah without intention, you still fulfill the mitzvah. And that is primarily when there's an action mitzvah. I'm not convinced. I'm not saying it's not true, but I don't know if this is specifically an action mitzvah or not. And I don't know the answer. It's a good point. Even if what you're saying is true, even if what you're okay, let me give you an example. What I'm trying to say, let me make it more clear because I just said a bunch of words that may not have any meaning to anybody. A person loses $100 bill. Okay, loses it. A poor man finds the $100 bill. So the net result is tzedakah.
Is it?
That's what I make. No, the result is one person gave $100, one person received $100 who needed it. My question to you is, was the mitzvah of tzedakah, did it happen?
What's the
Okay.
definition of tzedakah? No, what's the definition of tzedakah? Tzedakah, it's give, it's to give.
Si es tzedakah,
So
porque
you're
ya
gonna
no
give.
sé cuánto-
So you're right. Okay, right. So I'm saying that that's what she's trying to put this into the category. And I don't know if that's correct or not, but the answer is it is tzedakah. It is tzedakah. The lowest level possible imaginable. Right? But it is tzedakah. It's tzedakah.
And you think,
I wish I had it.
¿sabes? Como que le sirve.
Ya estás elevándolo un poquito. Estás elevándolo un poquito. Sí, exacto. Okay. Huh?
By choice.
I can't answer. Now you're getting this is way too religious for me. Right? Fisher? I can't tell you why it happened. Now you're out of my league here. Maybe you're right. But you're out of my league. My point is
And then it's
that's where it becomes more problematic. It's not just an action. That's why I'm not, I know, that's why I'm not as, I got it, I got it, I'm not as convinced as you. Okay, let me explain. Let me explain my slide. I didn't get to explain my slide. Good. I didn't finish the idea. You explained it. A little more complicated, most likely, yes. It's a little more complicated. The reason it's complicated, the mitzvah of giving tzedakah is at a much higher level when it's to a Jew. And the primary reason, it's not the only reason, but the primary reason it's a mitzvah to give tzedakah to a non-Jew is for the purpose of peace. That people shouldn't say that Jews only give tzedakah to Jews, but the primary objective of tzedakah is to give to your brother, and Jewish people are brothers. That's the primary objective. I'm not saying it's the only objective, and I'm not saying it's.
Feel more the mitzvah if you give it to someone.
Yes, but it's still in there. It's still a requirement. It's still a requirement to give to non-Jews as well. Okay,
It's called Hesed, not tzedakah.
you're getting out of my league, guys. You're way too deep here for me. Wait. So I'm not done yet. So okay, so that is proving to you what I'm trying to prove to you on the most extreme level is that you can fulfill a mitzvah with zero intention. That's all I'm trying to show you. Okay, a simpler example, because that brings up what the example I gave you brings up all sorts of other conversations, which is where we went. But a simpler example is a guy puts on tefillin. Okay, I do it almost every day. I put on tefillin and I don't have the intent I'm supposed to have. Okay, but I did the action, I did the activity. Did I fulfill the mitzvah? The answer is yes. I fulfilled the mitzvah. Did I get what I can get out of it? No, definitely not. It's even, yes, it is what I can get out of it. I use that language, but I didn't have to use that language. Did I fulfill everything that I was meant to fulfill? The answer is no. Okay, so that would be the service of Hashem. I get full credit for the activity of the mitzvah, but I don't get full credit for the kavanah of the mitzvah. That's right. That's exactly right. Of my action. That's right. That's where no, you're right. They can be for your own good. Absolutely. Absolutely. But right, but that's again a side detail. It's an important detail, but a side detail. She's right. You're right. You're right. That's right. That's just me. Even if it's a spiritual benefit. Okay, guys, let's come back to the question. Hold on. Let's come back to the question.
That's the benefit for you.
It's complicated. Okay, so that is when it comes to an action mitzvah, there's no doubt whatsoever. Relax. You're getting all excited. We didn't even get to the foundation. Okay, so it's an ongoing debate for years of debate. I know, in Tanya. Okay, no, not even. But my point is before, and I do want to cover a drop more ground, but just to answer this question, not to answer, to give you the paradigm for to have the conversation. Guys, where are we up to? Oh, yeah. That is when you're dealing with an action. When you're dealing with an action, you fulfill the mitzvah just by doing the action. Part of this debate is whether the eating of meat on Shabbat, if the action is the mitzvah, or if the pleasure is the mitzvah. I don't know if the mitzvah is oneg. The mitzvah is oneg. I don't know if there's any mitzvah in the actual action of, and I'll give you again an extreme. Always when you see the extremes is where you can get the concept. Okay, what about somebody who hates meat? Right. Yes. For example. Okay. Do they get a mitzvah for eating meat without having pleasure in it? Okay. So it's not, these are not simple questions. I'm the basis of my argument, and I'm not knowledgeable enough to really know the answer. But one thing I can say for sure, which I will say in a second, but the basic of my argument is that eating meat on Shabbos is not the same as giving tzedakah. or putting on tefillin. Those are transactions. Those are things that need to physically occur in order for the mitzvah to happen. Here we have a mitzvah to have pleasure on Shabbos. And there is where I say there may be debate whether we're having pleasure, just having pleasure on Shabbos automatically makes it a mitzvah. That's your side of the debate. And my side is maybe not. Maybe you need to have pleasure for the purpose of enjoying Shabbos. And I don't know the answer. And maybe there is a mitzvah in just eating the meat physically. Maybe. So I don't know. I'm going to go with I don't know.
But what the question
Back
is,
to here.
the question here, it says, let's say not in
I'm not going any
Shabbat,
further.
not in
I gotta
Shabbat,
dis-
Rabbi, but
No, I
in,
disagree with you.
on a regular day, not in Shabbat,
Okay.
that you're eating and not with the intention. The question, what it's saying here is that you can change it to then, if you
Yes,
were
yes,
hungry
yes.
and you needed to eat because you needed energy to study Torah,
Yes.
then
Yes.
it's okay.
Yes.
That's what this is saying.
Yes. However, guys, it gets worse here. It gets worse, and then not until the end of this chapter does it get better. So be prepared. Rak, look at the bottom of 119. This is where it becomes complicated. Rak, the number it becomes. This is where it continues to become complicated. Rak sharashimu mimenu nisha baguf. Even though you can, as you said, you can, and I mentioned earlier that it's only temporarily in the world of negativity, but you can elevate it by going back to the service of Hashem and serving Hashem with that energy. However, your body still has a mark, a trace of the fact that you did it for the pure reason of pleasure. Valkain, and therefore, and here's where it gets sichi, the body needs to disintegrate in the
No dice, eating permissible food for bodily pleasure causes food to descend into total evil.
we said that already. Yeah, are you on the right page? What page are you on? 120?
Same.
Okay. And since it had that time in total evil, the mark remains, and therefore that is the reason that a body needs to disintegrate. Because even though a Jewish body is very holy, it is, and it can be, but it can also be used for negativity. And since you used it, even if you did everything 100% kosher and you made all the brachot and you ate on Shabbat, sorry, okay, forget that one. I'll take it away for now. We'll leave it out of the conversation for the moment. And you did everything in a kosher way, but since you did it for the pleasures of the body, even if you then went ahead and fixed it and used it for a positive thing, but it leaves a mark, and that mark is erased. No, through in la tumba. In la tumba. Because you're dealing with sin. Your question is about sin. Who said anything about guilt? I never said anything. I didn't say to feel guilty. Huh?
I need to purge.
No, it gets worse. We're not done yet. It gets worse. Okay, guys, this one I'm a little embarrassed to speak in mixed company, but we're going to continue. Likewise, the vitality that is found in the sperm, that exited a man because of his pleasure, and he did not sanctify himself. Now, what this means, so much conversation. I don't have answers for you yet, necessarily. But he did not sanctify himself while having marital relations, and instead was completely motivated by desire. But that can only be while a woman is in a state of tahar, because if a woman is in a state of tumah, then it can never be elevated. But while a woman is in a state of tahar, you could still be an animal. Now, what's an animal? It's not. We didn't answer any of these questions. Relax.
He's just kind of like the author was kind of just helping us be okay with the fact that we're an animal.
No. That's your
No,
version.
we should understand that that we can be better than that, but let's just react.
We didn't. You again. I'm
I'm
apologizing. Right now, he's in the negative. He's in the negative mode. So you're trying to already
Just
cleanse the negative mode.
Right.
I don't think that's the way to go. He will eventually let us know who we are and what we're capable of. Right now, he's
Chapter
setting out the facts. No, that's chapter much later.
25.
Yeah, around there. But right now, he's just setting out the facts.
Yeah,
This
that's
is
what
the game we're playing. This is the world we're living in. Now it's going to get worse, but we will eventually. Yeah, I have 4 minutes till 9:15. I want to see if we can get somewhere, at least a little positivity. Not so if we're talking about food that's not kosher or food that is prohibited. In that case, it's not just that your body has a little mark that therefore needs to be cleansed through the grave. Instead, they are completely tied up to pure negativity. And they can never be elevated from there until
Mashiach.
that's correct.
Wow.
Because when Mashiach comes, it says, I will remove the spirit of Tuma, which we said, what is the problem with these things? Is that they're Tameh. We even say it in the Chumash. You don't need the Tanya to say this. You don't need Kabbalah to say this. The Chumash tells us, Behemot Tameot, animals which are Tameh. And then we say that we're going to remove Tuma from the land, from the world, which means that at a certain point, the Tamehness is going to be gone.
So wait, there are certain.
Oh,
things that
we're not
are
even done yet. Huh?
You are.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
And how do you do the cleaning in the tumba? It's by clean.
You don't do nothing.
They do you.
They do. Yeah, it's when the gosanos te come.
Really?
See.
That's a hellish?
Yeah. Not hell. We didn't say hell. We didn't say anything about hell. Shubita kever. No, del cuerpo. Estamos hablando del cuerpo. Ya viene del alma.
Laundry, cleaning, our neshama.
It's a soul.
Right, let's go further. We'll get some answers.
Purgatory of the grave. It
Uh-huh.
means that your body disintegrates.
Disintegrates. Yeah.
And what about the bone?
No, so you're not completely. That's your etzem. There's a reason the bone is called etzem. Etzem means the essence. The essence is always holy for a Jew. Yeah, but even a non-Jew's bone stays. So it's not a simple question. Pero seguimos. Let's see. We're not done yet. It gets more negative, and I want to at least get something positive at the end. This is a little positive. Ad sheyaseh teshuva gedola, until you do a major teshuva. So a person who has relations with somebody they're not allowed to, or with somebody at a time they're not allowed to, or a person who eats foods that they're not allowed to, you are able to still do teshuva. But it's a high level teshuva. This is not, you can't just say, I'm not going to do it anymore. That's good. That's amazing. But this is not what's going to convert the negativity into positivity. What's the negativity positivity? Kolkach, you do such a level of teshuva, that your negative literally turns into positive. There is such a level of teshuva where you can use. Okay, I don't want to give. Now I'm making explanations. Forget the explanation for now. There's a level of teshuva where your negative literally becomes transformed into positive. Not just that you left the negative behind, but that the negative itself becomes positive. That's a very high level of teshuva, and it's possible. I'm saying very high. It sounds like I'm trying to tell you that means it's too high for any of us. No, it's not true. It's possible. This is a teshuva that's possible, but it's not just regular teshuva. This is special teshuva. So you are able to even elevate the negative by transforming it into a positive. How? I didn't give any explanations yet. Right now, we're just talking facts. We're putting the facts on the table. Shehi, actually, he says, he gives at least a touch of it. Teshuva me'ahava, teshuva that comes from love. Now, one of the most important things to know about teshuva is teshuva does not mean we sit around the Holy Yom Kippur realizing what horrible humans we are. That is not teshuva. at all, not even the lowest level of teshuvah. That's stupidity. Okay, the lowest level of teshuvah is where you simply say, I know what I did is wrong. I don't want to do it anymore. And I'm going to do my best to not do it anymore. That doesn't come through thinking how horrible you are. If you think about how horrible you are, that is the motivator. That's really where I really wanted to go on the guilt thing. And you were saying about what that does for you is that ensures that you're not going to grow. It allows you in the moment to make a good decision. That it does. But it does not let you become a better person, because nobody can make positive forward motion with negative. What's it called? You need to be, which he's about to say. What is it? Tshuva me'ahava. Loving Hashem. When you love Hashem, that's positive motion. You're trying to come close to the one who you love. Me'umka deliba, from the depths of your heart, ba'ahava rabba, with intense love, v'chasheka, and desire, v'nefesh shekeka, with a passionate soul, the dafka b'yizbarach, to want to come close to him. That's not the negativity of, oh my gosh, I'm so terrible. I did not do what my parents told me 25 years ago. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about recognizing that the whole purpose I'm here on this earth is to become close to Hashem, and Hashem allows me this tremendous opportunity, and not, oh, I'm such an idiot because I didn't take advantage of this opportunity. You're back to negativity. No, it's I want to get close.
I did something wrong.
Right. And making a decision not to do it anymore. That's right. That's right. But we didn't speak about all the various levels. There's a whole section that's going to speak about the levels. All I want to state is that there is a high level of teshuvah, which is completely and entirely where you're overwhelmed by your love for Hashem. I haven't been there yet. I want to be honest with you, so I don't know what he's talking about. Huh?
Lo que hoy en día llaman un enlightenment, ¿no? Que es como,
We just have to be careful because it could be compared to many things that it's not. I'm not saying no. It could be. But you can also compare that to getting high on what's it called? To be honest, we just breath work was mentioned. So you have suddenly your brain is now not functioning the normal way, and you can call this enlightenment. I don't know if it's enlightenment. It's your brain is short of oxygen. Is that enlightenment? I don't think so. I think it's brains that are short of oxygen.
In the Mimer that we learned on, the Alter Rebbe talks about this. There was once a person who sinned so much. He was like famous in the times of the Gemara that he had done every single sin possible known to mankind. And one time he was the Gemara. One time he was with the most expensive prostitute in the entire world, and she farted. And he said, "Oh my God! Like seriously, I paid all this money for this."
No, that's not what he said.
Something like that. Okay, whatever. Anyways,
No, it's important to know because
Okay,
this
what
makes
he
a
said.
difference. It makes a difference in he recognized that the
Right.
pleasure that what's it called was for just a regular human being. It's
Exactly.
an important distinction. In other words, it was not that he was grossed out by the what's it called? He just
O sea, que él pensó que estaba
He recognized that. So then, but this was amazing part. So then she said to him, yeah, she said, yeah, okay, you think you're so great? Everybody knows that there's no place, not even hell for you. You're so bad. And at that moment, he realized how low he had, what he had lived his life for, like all these sins. And he felt such terrible regret that he went he left and went to like the forest or something. I think this is
you're proving the opposite point of what I'm
why
saying.
I'm just telling you what the Mimer said.
Okay. No, I know. I'm not saying
So
you're wrong.
So the Mimer said, so he goes to he did such great teshuvah.
There we
It
go.
was such he felt such terrible remorse. And Alter Rebbe says that one of the things that he feels such terrible remorse for is when a person feels such bitterness, they don't want their life anymore. Like nothing would make him happy. You know, when you're like that upset, when you just nothing matters anymore. Like he felt it. He felt such a depth of remorse that he cried and cried. And he cried so much for so many hours, like for 24 hours or something, the whole night, that he died. And it says that when he died, a voice came out from heaven and said, what was his name again?
Yeah.
Elazar
Elazar ben Duda, yeah.
Elazar ben Dudai goes into Gan Eden. So, and the Alter Rebbe said that how did he do that? I mean, here he like all these tzaddikim that spent their entire life doing mitzvahs every single day, exercised self-control and did mitzvahs all day long, and he jumped to where they are. ¿Cómo puede ser?
Para su nivel, eso era su nivel más alto que podía llegar, maybe.
No,
But,
that
he said there's something special, extreme. The power of
Teshuvah.
The power of teshuva is extreme. There is extremely strong power of teshuva. That, and really, it does.
like a reset.
It's like, yeah, but it has something to do with the bitterness, like the absolute bitterness that he felt, that is also a love for Hashem. You know what I mean? Like, wow, how did I waste my entire life on everything and all this bad one? Like, I wish I would have spent it on something that's worth it. You know what I mean? And that really does have a ability to catapult a person to a level that's above sin and not sin. And that's why tshuva is very, very powerful.
But I think the way you described it goes back to guilt.
I know, but he says that.
I don't know if that's what he's. I'm saying I'm not sure if that's what he's saying.
There's bitterness in there, very much.
I know what the mirrors
It's
is.
not always negative.
It's not always
Sometimes
negative,
como
yeah.
que the starting
There's a
spark that
tshuva, yeah.
helps you.
The tshuva
That's
has that,
absolutely.
right. It has to do with love, but it also has to do with.
No, but you
the
said that it
bitterness.
shouldn't be the motivator.
I don't think it is. That's why I think we have to be
That's how
more.
he's looking.
I know exactly meriros. I got the difference. The question is, what's the difference between meriros and what's it called? I think that's a very. I know what it says. I know exactly what it says. Meriros. The question is, and Hasidus deals with in depth, trying to understand what is the difference between atzvos and meriros.
Right.
And I don't think we capture this difference. Of course, that's 100%. I don't think we captured the distinction
Right.
between atzvos and meriros here.
Has to be a certain.
I don't know if it's guilt though. The way you
It's-
described it
it's
sounds like
bitter,
guilt.
it's a motivator. Has to be a motivating thing. Just to stay in guilt, that's not good. But a bitterness that you want to leave.
I think
is
the
not
bitterness
right.
is not in how did I. That's I think where the problem is. I think the bitterness is where am I. You understand the difference? It's not how could I have. That's guilt.
But
That's straight guilt. I think it's look at where I am. I've fallen to such a level, and I know I could be so much better, or I should be so much better, or whatever it is. But it's not the guilt version of it. It's the I think it's so. This is another. But we lost the track of the entire topic here. But you're right.
No,
You're
it
right.
is because it's.
No, it's very
about
important. It's
guilt.
critical. It's critical. But I'm saying we still didn't get the facts on the ground yet. Should we do 3 more minutes? Okay, so you can learn all about hell and all these things at another time. We're about to. It is. It is. Okay. Okay. Then no, but it's also the positivity. It's along what Hindi says too. I have to be. The problem. I'm not saying what Hindi's saying is wrong. Is right. It's 100% right. It's that there's these very fine lines that have to be defined in order to catch what we're trying to say, and I don't think we've defined them.
Meaning a lot of times it
At all,
comes from a bad place when you're just in guilt.
You know, it's even more than that. I don't know if it's guilt at all. But let's just read. Let's read. Actually, yes, we said this. V'tzama nafshel Hashem, and his soul thirsts for God. Ke'eretz hayefa v'tzia, and he gets to this point where he's so thirsty for Hashem, it's like you're in the desert. If you can imagine a man in the desert who is melting, literally, and he's dying of thirst. Not that he's a little thirsty, right? Yesterday I was out in the sun for too many hours and I was very thirsty. We're not talking about that. We're talking about you're in a land that is parched and you're completely thirsting. He gets to that level of thirst for Hashem. That is what we're talking about, the level of Teshuvah. Page 122. We're going to push just to the 123 in the middle. He recognizes, and I think this is what Hindi is referring to. He recognizes that until now he's been in a state of thirst. He's been in a land that's full of a desert. He has Sitra Achra, which is the world of Sitra Achra, the other side. And he's completely distant from the face of Hashem. And therefore he gets to a place where his thirst for God is even greater than the thirst for God of the tzaddikim, which is exactly what Hindi is referring to. So the big tzaddik, he thirsts for God, but his whole life has been positive. This guy thirsts for God, but he's coming from such a negative space that he really thirsts for God in a much even more profound.
They
Oh, I
reach
wouldn't
the
know.
same level.
But he could even be more intense
Right.
because he's coming from a negative space, so it's even more intense. As our rabbis teach us, in the place where a Baal Tshuva could stand, even a tzaddik is unable to stand. Baal Tshuva me'ava rabazu, on this level of tshuva that comes from a great and intense love, this is what the Talmud teaches us, that his negativity is transformed into positive. Why? Because what is the motivator that he has such an intense desire to connect to Hashem is the negative space he finds himself in now.
Pero entonces es un juego muy injusto para el que siempre se ha hecho todo bien. Como yo estoy toda la vida haciendo todo bien, pero dices
Injusto.
que nunca voy a poder sentir lo que que lleva
Correcto.
gozando en las
Eh,
rumbas
injusto,
toda
¿qué
la
me
vida
importa?
va a sentir
Pero ¿qué
porque se
importa si es
arrepintió al
injusto?
final.
¿Qué importa si eso es injusto?
No, bueno, entonces vete a...
I have another problem. If you want to go, no, but let's finish. Let's finish.
He's gonna talk about that. He's gonna talk about that.
Aval, page 123. Let's just finish these two sentences, and I gotta go there. Aval tshuva sheloi me'ahavazu. Tshuva, which we mentioned earlier, that there's different levels of teshuva. This is a high level teshuva where you're reaching the same level as a tzaddik, only even more intense. Aval tshuva sheloi me'ahava, but tshuva that's not from this level of love. Afshi tshuva nechayna, even though it's a good tshuva, you've done tshuva, Hashem accepts it. Let's go to the kosher thing. A person who, for their whole life, did not eat kosher, now they decide they want to eat kosher. So what? They're going to feel that they're guilty because they ate kosher? No, you do tshuva, and your tshuva is accepted, and Hashem accepts it.
Pero tu cuerpo tiene unas
Hashem
huellas.
yisach, not only your cuerpo, maybe even your soul. Hashem yisach, mikol makom li'nas l'zchuyos. Your soul, the negative has not been transformed to positive. Ve'ein oilem ha'klipah legamri ades ketz sheyiv la'amav l'netzach. That person will still have a certain negativity attached to his soul until Mashiach comes. So the two options to rid yourself of the negativity that is unelevatable, option one is super high level teshuva. Option two is Mashiach.
Is it the soul or just the world that you gave?
No, we said your body, your soul, everything.
I don't see here.
Bueno, no.
I'm gonna have to debate it later. I have to go to my next one second. Okay. Chazak Baruch. No soul, body.
Because you also give energy to the bad things.
Yeah, well, I will try and pick up next week. I'm
Yeah.
late. We're very late. Okay, well done, peoples.
Thank you. Thank you.
I don't know if it was written or you gave it as an example that, let's say you said like being with someone that you weren't supposed to be next to eating something that you're not supposed to eat.
Same thing.
The transgression. Sí, pero can compare.
Why not?
Sí, es lo mismo.
No es lo mismo.
Why? Hold on, slow down. Why?
Estamos jugando un valor moral
Ajá.
de la sociedad y la Torah lo
Eso.
tiene otro calibre,
Eso.
¿no?
Well, but she's right to a certain extent.
¿Quién dice que estás dañando a otra persona? You could have relations with a woman you're not allowed to have relations with it. You're not, no, que no hay daño, que todo está bien, todos son felices.
Okay, yo lo vi como que
Porque you're
No
thinking
infidelidad.
of cheating. It doesn't have to be cheating.
sí,
It could be
también-
many things. Bueno, to be debated. There's a lot. We opened a lot of cans of worms. We need to. I keep opening. We're not closing. I know.
Ese es el truco para que volvamos a la próxima.